The problem or cause of long-term benefit receipt is defined here by me as an underserving of Māori in education. A review of the literature shows that this situation can be explained by long-term effects of low expectations, poor quality teaching, and limited access to community and family resources. The failure to educate Māori to the same levels as others is therefore not inevitable. In fact, it's totally reversible. It will, however, require a commitment to reform a system that privileges institutions over people. And if anyone has an understanding of the 1989 Education Act, you'll see it's actually all about schools and boards of trustees. There's no mention of students in there. Similarly, a review of the collection of best evidence syntheses, which is on the Ministry of Education's website, does not support the prevalent view that there is something peculiar to Māori about underachievement. So the enduring myth that there is something fundamentally deficient with Māori and that they do not achieve an education because of dysfunctional whānau, behavioural problems, and a lack of cultural fit with schools is simply not supported by the Ministry of Education's own evidence. This does not mean that Māori are not herded into these categories whenever the issue of undereducation is brought up. What I'm saying, however, is that the evidence does not point to these areas as sufficient cause for underachievement. In spite of this, current interventions tend to reflect a conviction that Māori students and their whānau will be much more successful if they took on the trappings of the majority culture in ways that dismiss the contributions that we as parents already make to our children's learning. Strategies to increase student success often reveal outcomes that are not directly related to student achievement data. This strongly suggests to me that investments in this area by the government can only be effective when the environment of schools is refocused back onto educational achievement. Further evidence also suggests, this is all the evidence I got from the Ministry of Education's website, the best evidence syntheses that they have there. Further evidence also suggests that schools that take on the role of social amelioration actually opt out of teaching. This alongside the tendency to believe that certain core subjects are not valued by Māori, you know, because we like to do things with our hands. We're not necessarily engaged with anything academic. That alongside this tendency, this is what is all added to and diminished success for Māori in education. Research has consistently shown that many Māori reside in conditions that are often limited by their access to resources. We already know that too many Māori children reside in homes where the mean income is comparatively lower than all other groups in society. Nevertheless, in spite of limited access to wealth, that same research also shows that contrary to popular opinion again, Māori families have been shown to have really high expectations of our children in education. Nevertheless, while these barriers coalesce for Māori students and their whānau in terms of their success in education, it is also clear that these phenomena illustrate an effect rather than a cause of underachievement. My concerns here are specific to the effectiveness of translating research and evidence into widespread reforms that are effective to Māori. The implications of research that do not link wide societal impacts alongside the long-term effects of benefit receipt produce fatalistic attitudes. Historically, this has resulted in interventionist policies that is driven by the need to change Māori, rather than taking a systems approach. There is broad agreement across most of the evidence that I looked at that there are severe economic stresses that impact on Māori, and that serve as a barrier and limit the ability that whānau can support their children. They also have negative implications for children's achievement. The economic and long-term cost to us of a society of large sections of second-tier school leavers ill-equipped to support themselves and their future families is unacceptable. That unrealised potential is left to atrophy is not just unacceptable, it is a huge tragedy that will inevitably impact on all of us as we age. The substantive problem for us over the next couple of days at least is not so much how we might reduce long-term benefit receipt, but rather the type of society we want. In light of this, we must surely review the effect that current welfare and benefit receipt has on human experience. There were sort of really two points that I wanted to point out, and that was that we live in a society in which certain groups are not valued, and we heard that earlier, and we live in a society that consistently underperforms for Māori children, which is an absolute crime, and I cannot believe people aren't going en masse to demand change there, or some type of accountability, because that has an impact on all of us. And we heard from the woman before from population studies that unless we're brave enough to actually put the investment where it is, then we're on a high road to hell, as my mother used to say. I'm not sure what that means. Anyway, I guess in conclusion, I really don't believe that it's knowledge of what we need to do that we lack. I think that in some ways we lack the courage to make the hard decisions that we have to. So, nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa.